I'm going through with the lawsuit, Mom. Expect the papers soon.
I'm afraid the trust was empty, Mrs. Johnson. Your son emptied the accounts last month.
I still remember the moment the lawyer said it. My client, Lauren Morrison, is filing a lawsuit against you. Against me, my own daughter. My hands were shaking so badly I had to sit down. I hadn't heard her voice in over a year, and now this was how she chose to reach me. But then her lawyer, Daniel Brooks, lowered his voice and added something that made my heart stop. Ms. Morrison, your daughter doesn't know what you already did for her. And just like that, everything I had buried came rushing back. All the secrets, all the silence, all the ways I had tried to save her without her ever knowing. If you've ever loved someone so much you were willing to let them hate you, you'll understand this story. Before we go on, tell me, have you ever been misunderstood by someone you love? Leave a comment and let me know where you're watching from and what time it is there. And if stories like this speak to you, you might want to stay with me until the end. There was a time when my daughter Lauren Morrison used to call me every single day. Not out of obligation, not out of guilt, but because she wanted to. I can still hear her voice in my memory, bright, warm, full of life. She used to tell me everything. What she ate for lunch. Which coworker annoyed her. What movie she wanted to see that weekend. Sometimes she would call just to sit in silence with me, the television humming in the background while we folded laundry in 2 different homes. Back then, we were close in a way that felt unbreakable. We lived in a modest house just outside Columbus, Ohio. Nothing fancy, just a quiet neighborhood, a front porch with a white swing, and a kitchen that always smelled like coffee and cinnamon. My husband, Robert Morrison, used to joke that the house had more warmth than square footage. Robert, he was the glue. When he passed away 5 years ago, something shifted in Lauren. At first, it was subtle. She stopped calling every day, then every other day, then once a week. Eventually, when he passed away 5 years ago, something shifted in Lauren. At first, it was subtle. She stopped calling every day, then every other day, then once a week. Eventually, sometimes not at all. Grief does strange things to people. I knew that. I told myself to be patient. But what I didn't understand then was that Lauren wasn't just grieving her father. She was changing. I remember the night she told me she was moving to Chicago. She didn't ask what I thought. She didn't even hesitate. I got a position with Harrison and Cole Development Group, she said over the phone, her tone flat but determined. It's a big opportunity, Mom. I tried to sound supportive. Chicago is a big step. Are you sure you're ready for that? There was a pause on the line, a long one. I don't need to be ready, she finally said. I just need to go. That was the first time I felt it that distance. Like there was a wall slowly being built between us brick by brick, and I had no idea how to stop it. Still, I helped her pack. I stood in her bedroom as she folded clothes into boxes, the same room where she used to sleep with the door open because she was afraid of thunderstorms. I wanted to say so many things, to ask her to stay, to remind her she didn't have to leave to prove something. But I didn't, because I thought if I held on too tightly, I might lose her faster. So instead, I smiled. I made sandwiches for the road. I tucked a small envelope of cash into her bag when she wasn't looking, just in case. She found it before she left. I'll never forget the way she looked at me. Not grateful, not amused, almost offended. You don't have to do this, she said, holding the envelope between 2 fingers like it was something fragile or dangerous. I just wanted to make sure you had a little extra, I said gently. I have a job, Mom. I know, honey, but nothing. Her voice sharpened. I don't want to owe you anything. That word owe hit me harder than I expected. You don't owe me, I said softly. You're my daughter. She hesitated. For a moment, I thought she might soften. But then she tucked the envelope back into my hand. I need to do this on my own, she said. All of it. And just like that, something closed off inside her. The drive to Chicago took about 6 hours. I followed her in my own car for the first half of the trip before turning back at a rest stop. I remember standing there watching her car disappear down the highway, feeling like I was watching my life split into before and after. Before, when she still needed me, and after, when she didn't. In the months that followed, Lauren settled into her new life quickly. Too quickly. She talked about the company with a kind of intensity I hadn't heard before. Harrison and Cole wasn't just a job to her. It was everything. She worked late nights, took weekend calls, attended networking events. She was always busy, always rushing somewhere, always chasing something just out of reach. They see potential in me, she told me once, her voice carrying a hint of pride. Real potential. That's wonderful, I said. Just don't forget to take care of yourself. I'm fine, Mom. It became her default answer. I'm fine, even when she sounded exhausted, even when she skipped meals, even when she stopped visiting home for holidays. One Thanksgiving, she canceled just 2 days before. Something came up at work, she said. What kind of something, I asked. A deal. It's important. You're important too, I said quietly. She sighed like I was being unreasonable. This is how things work at this level, Mom. At this level. I didn't recognize her anymore. The girl who used to cry over broken friendships was now talking about levels and deals like emotions were inconveniences she didn't have time for. But what worried me most wasn't just her ambition. It was the way she spoke about people. They're not serious investors, she said once dismissively. They don't understand how this business works. Who, I asked? Clients, older ones mostly. They're just cautious. Something about the way she said it made my stomach tighten. Cautious wasn't a bad thing, especially not when it came to money. Maybe they just want to be careful, I suggested. Or maybe they're holding themselves back. She shot back. You can't succeed if you're always afraid. There was a sharpness in her voice that hadn't been there before, a kind of impatience, almost contempt. That was when the unease started to grow. At first I ignored it, told myself it was just stress, that Chicago was a different world and she was adapting. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. Because Lauren had always been kind. Even as a child, she would defend kids who were bullied. She once gave her entire allowance to a neighbor who lost her dog just so the woman could print flyers. That kind of heart doesn't just disappear. It changes for a reason. And I was beginning to suspect that reason wasn't something good. The last time she visited before everything fell apart, she seemed different, not just distant, guarded. She kept checking her phone, stepping outside to take calls, lowering her voice when she spoke about work. At one point, I walked into the kitchen and she immediately ended a conversation mid-sentence. Who is that? She kept checking her phone, stepping outside to take calls, lowering her voice when she spoke about work. At one point, I walked into the kitchen and she immediately ended a conversation mid-sentence. Who was that, I asked. No one, she said quickly. No one. Another answer that didn't feel true. That night, as she slept in her old bedroom, I stood in the hallway and watched her through the half-open door. She looked peaceful, younger somehow, like the girl I used to know. And I remember thinking, what is happening to you, Lauren? What are you getting pulled into? I didn't have the answer yet, but I could feel it. Something was coming. Something that would change everything between us. The first time Lauren truly refused my help, it wasn't just a disagreement. It was a line she drew. And once it was there, everything between us began to change. It happened about 8 months after she moved to Chicago. At that point, her calls had become shorter, less frequent. When we did talk, everything felt rushed, like she was always halfway out the door, even when she was sitting still. But that night, something felt different. I could hear it in her voice. She sounded tired. Not the kind of tired you fix with sleep, but the kind that sits deeper behind your words, weighing them down. "Hey, Mom," she said, forcing brightness into her tone. "Sorry I haven't called in a few days. It's been crazy here." "You don't have to apologize," I said gently. "I just like hearing your voice." There was a pause. "Yeah, I know." I leaned back in my chair, staring at the quiet kitchen around me. The clock ticked loudly on the wall, filling the silence. She didn't. "How's work?" I asked. Another pause, longer this time. "It's good. Busy. Too quick. Too careful." "Lauren," I said softly. "Are you sure you're okay? I'm fine." There it was again, that same phrase. But this time, it didn't sound convincing. "Sweetheart," I continued, choosing my words carefully. "You don't sound fine." "I said I am," she replied, a little sharper now. I hesitated. I didn't want to push too hard, but I couldn't ignore what I was hearing. "You can tell me if something's wrong," I said. "You don't have to handle everything alone." She let out a breath. Not quite a sigh, not quite frustration, something in between. "It's just work stuff, Mom. Nothing you can help with." That word again. Help. "Try me," I said, attempting a light tone. "I might surprise you." "No," she said quickly. "You won't." The certainty in her voice caught me off guard. "Why would you say that?" "Because you don't understand this world," she replied. "It's different here. Different. Like where she came from wasn't enough anymore. Maybe I don't understand everything," I admitted. "But I understand you." Silence. I could almost hear her deciding whether to let me in or shut me out. Finally, she spoke. "There's just maybe I don't understand everything," I admitted, "but I understand you." Silence. I could almost hear her deciding whether to let me in or shut me out. Finally, she spoke. "There's just pressure," she said slowly. "Deadlines, expectations, people depending on me. That sounds like a lot." "It is. So let me help." I said it softly, carefully, not as a demand, not as control, just as a mother. "I could send you some money," I added, "just to take some of the stress off. You don't have to tell anyone." "Stop." The word came out so sharply, it felt like it cut through the line. "Lauren, I said, stop, Mom." My heart sank. "I'm not trying to control you," I said quickly. "I just thought—" "That's exactly what you're doing," she snapped. I froze. "What? Every time something gets hard, you swoop in with money," she continued, her voice rising. "Like I can't handle my own life." "That's not fair," I said, my voice trembling despite my effort to stay calm. "I'm offering support, not—" "No," she interrupted. "You're offering strings." "Strings." The word echoed in my chest like a crack forming in glass. "There are no strings," I whispered. "There always are," she said. even if you don't see them. I closed my eyes, trying to steady myself. Lauren, I've never asked you for anything in return. You don't have to, she replied. It's implied. Implied that I expected something, that my love came with conditions. I didn't know how to respond to that. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then I tried one last time. I just don't want you to struggle, I said quietly. Well, maybe I need to, she shot back. The words hung in the air between us. Why would you say that? I asked. Because that's how you grow, she said. You don't grow by having everything handed to you. I'm not trying to hand you everything, I said. Just a little support. Because that's how you grow, she said. You don't grow by having everything handed to you. I'm not trying to hand you everything, I said. Just a little support. I don't want it. Her voice softened slightly, but not enough to undo the damage. I don't need your help, Mom, she continued. I need you to trust that I can do this on my own. I swallowed hard. I do trust you. Then, let me prove it. There it was. Not anger, not rejection, something else. Pride. Stubborn, unyielding pride. And maybe something underneath it. Fear. But she would never admit that. Okay, I said slowly, if that's what you need. It is. Another silence. This one heavier, more final. Good night, Mom, she said. Good night, sweetheart. The line went dead. I sat there for a long time after that. The house felt quieter than usual, colder. Like something important had just slipped out of my hands and I didn't know how to get it back. I replayed the conversation over and over in my head. The way her voice changed. The way she shut me down. The way she looked at my help like it was something dangerous. That was when I started to wonder, where had she learned that? Because it wasn't from me. I had spent her entire life trying to show her that she could always come to me. That she would never have to face anything alone. So why did she believe the opposite now? A few days later, I tried to call her again. No answer. I sent a text. Just checking in. Love you. No reply. Another day passed, then another. Eventually, she responded with a single message. Busy. I'm fine. Short. Distant. Closed. Something wasn't right. And it wasn't just stress. It was the way she pushed me away like I was the problem. Like my presence, my concern, was something she needed to escape from. That wasn't my Lauren. Or maybe it was a version of her I didn't recognize yet. Either way, I couldn't shake the feeling that she was getting pulled deeper into something she didn't fully understand. Something that was changing her. And the worst part? She wouldn't let me anywhere near it. I didn't know it then. But that was the moment everything began to spiral. Because when someone refuses help, sometimes it's not because they don't need it. Sometimes it's because they're already in too deep. The first time Lauren truly refused my help, it wasn't just a disagreement. It was a line she drew. And once it was there, everything between us began to change. It happened about 8 months after she moved to Chicago. At that point, her calls had become shorter, less frequent. When we did talk, everything felt rushed. Like she was always halfway out the door even when she was sitting still. But that night, something felt different. I could hear it in her voice. She sounded tired. Not the kind of tired you fix with sleep, but the kind that sits deeper behind your words, weighing them down. Hey, Mom, she said, forcing brightness into her tone. Sorry I haven't called in a few days. It's been crazy here. You don't have to apologize, I said gently. I just like hearing your voice. There was a pause. Yeah, I know. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the quiet kitchen around me. The clock ticked loudly on the wall, filling the silence she didn't. How's work? I asked. Another pause. Longer this time. It's good. Busy. Too quick. Too careful. Lauren, I said softly, are you sure you're okay? I'm fine. There it was again. That same phrase. But this time, it didn't sound convincing. Sweetheart, I continued choosing my words carefully. You don't sound fine. I said I am, she replied a little sharper now. I hesitated. I didn't want to push too hard, but I couldn't ignore what I was hearing. You can tell me if something's wrong, I said. You don't have to handle everything alone. She let out a breath. Not quite a sigh, not quite frustration, something in between. It's just work stuff, Mom. Nothing you can help with. That word again. Help. Try me, I said, attempting a light tone. I might surprise you. No, she said quickly. You won't. The certainty in her voice caught me off guard. Why would you say that? Because you don't understand this world, she replied. It's different here. Different. Like where she came from wasn't enough anymore. Maybe I don't from wasn't enough anymore. Maybe I don't understand everything I admitted. But I understand you. Silence. I could almost hear her deciding whether to let me in or shut me out. Finally, she spoke. There's just understand everything, I admitted. But I understand you. Silence. I could almost hear her deciding whether to let me in or shut me out. Finally, she spoke. There's just pressure, she said slowly. Deadlines, expectations, people depending on me. That sounds like a lot. It is. So let me help. I said it softly, carefully. Not as a demand, not as control, just as a mother. I could send you some money, I added, just to take some of the stress off. You don't have to tell anyone. Stop! The word came out so sharply, it felt like it cut through the line. Lauren, I said, stop, Mom. My heart sank. I'm not trying to control you, I said quickly. I just thought, that's exactly what you're doing, she snapped. I froze. What? Every time something gets hard, you swoop in with money, she continued, her voice rising. Like I can't handle my own life. That's not fair, I said, my voice trembling despite my effort to stay calm. I'm offering support, not... No, she interrupted. You're offering strings. Strings. The word echoed in my chest like a crack forming in glass. There are no strings, I whispered. There always are, she said. Even if you don't see them. I closed my eyes, trying to steady myself. Lauren, I've never asked you for anything in return. You don't have to, she replied. It's implied that I expected something, that my love came with conditions. I didn't know how to respond to that. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then I tried one last time. I just don't want you to struggle, I said quietly. Well, maybe I need to, she shot back. The words hung in the air between us. Why would you say that, I asked. Because that's how you grow, she said. You don't grow by having everything handed to you. I'm not trying to hand you everything, I said. Just a little support. Because that's how you grow, she said. You don't grow by having everything handed to you. I'm not trying to hand you everything, I said. Just a little support. I don't want it. Her voice softened slightly, but not enough to undo the damage. I don't need your help, Mom, she continued. I need you to trust that I can do this on my own. I swallowed hard. I do trust you. Then let me prove it. There it was. Not anger, not rejection, something else. Pride. Stubborn, unyielding pride. And maybe something underneath it. Fear. But she would never admit that. Okay, I said slowly, if that's what you need. It is. Another silence, this one heavier, more final. Good night, Mom, she said. Good night, sweetheart. The line went dead. I sat there for a long time after that. The house felt quieter than usual, colder. Like something important had just slipped out of my hands and I didn't know how to get it back. I replayed the conversation over and over in my head. The way her voice changed, the way she shut me down, the way she looked at my help like it was something dangerous. That was when I started to wonder, where had she learned that because it wasn't from me? I had spent her entire life trying to show her that she could always come to me, that she would never have to face anything alone. So why did she believe the opposite? Now, a few days later, I tried to call her again. No answer. I sent a text. Just checking in. Love you. No reply. Another day passed, then another. Eventually, she responded with a single message. Busy. I'm fine. Short. Distant. Closed. Something wasn't right. And it wasn't just stress. It was the way she pushed me away like I was the problem. Like my presence, my concern, was something she needed to escape from. That wasn't my Lauren. Or maybe it was a version of her I didn't recognize yet. Either way, I couldn't shake the feeling that she was getting pulled deeper into something she didn't fully understand. Something that was changing her. And the worst part? She wouldn't let me anywhere near it. I didn't know it then. But that was the moment everything began to spiral. Because when someone refuses help, sometimes it's not because they don't need it. Sometimes it's because they're already in too deep. The first time Lauren truly refused my help, it wasn't just a disagreement. It was a line she drew. And once it was there, everything between us began to change. It happened about 8 months after she moved to Chicago. At that point, her calls had become shorter, less frequent. When we did talk, everything felt rushed. Like she was always halfway out the door even when she was sitting still. But that night, something felt different. I could hear it in her voice. She sounded tired. Not the kind of tired you fix with sleep, but the kind that sits deeper behind your words, weighing them down. Hey, Mom, she said, forcing brightness into her tone. Sorry I haven't called in a few days. It's been crazy here. You don't have to apologize, I said gently. I just like hearing your voice. There was a pause. Yeah, I know. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the quiet kitchen around me. The clock ticked loudly on the wall, filling the silence she didn't. How's work? I asked. Another pause. Longer this time. It's good. Busy. Too quick. Too careful. Lauren? I said softly. Are you sure you're okay? I'm fine. There it was again. That same phrase. But this time, it didn't sound convincing. Sweetheart, I continued choosing my words carefully. You don't sound fine. I said I am. She replied a little sharper now. I hesitated. I didn't want to push too hard, but I couldn't ignore what I was hearing. You can tell me if something's wrong, I said. You don't have to handle everything alone. She let out a breath. Not quite a sigh, not quite frustration, something in between. It's just work stuff, Mom. Nothing you can help with. That word again. Help. Try me, I said, attempting a light tone. I might surprise you. No, she said quickly. You won't. The certainty in her voice caught me off guard. Why would you say that? Because you don't understand this world, she replied. It's different here. Different, like where she came from wasn't enough anymore. Maybe I don't from wasn't enough anymore. Maybe I don't understand everything I admitted. But I understand you. Silence. I could almost hear her deciding whether to let me in or shut me out. Finally, she spoke. There's just understand everything, I admitted. But I understand you. Silence. I could almost hear her deciding whether to let me in or shut me out. Finally, she spoke. There's just pressure, she said slowly. Deadlines, expectations, people depending on me. That sounds like a lot. It is. So let me help. I said it softly, carefully. Not as a demand, not as control, just as a mother. I could send you some money, I added, just to take some of the stress off. You don't have to tell anyone. Stop. The word came out so sharply it felt like it cut through the line. Lauren, I said, stop, Mom. My heart sank. I'm not trying to control you, I said quickly. I just thought, that's exactly what you're doing, she snapped. I froze. What? Every time something gets hard, you swoop in with money? She continued, her voice rising. Like I can't handle my own life. That's not fair, I said, my voice trembling despite my effort to stay calm. I'm offering support, not... No, she interrupted. You're offering strings. Strings. The word echoed in my chest like a crack forming in glass. There are no strings, I whispered. There always are, she said. Even if you don't see them. I closed my eyes, trying to steady myself. Lauren, I've never asked you for anything in return. You don't have to, she replied. It's implied, that I expected something, that my love came with conditions. I didn't know how to respond to that. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then I tried one last time. I just don't want you to struggle, I said quietly. Well, maybe I need to, she shot back. The words hung in the air between us. Why would you say that, I asked. Because that's how you grow, she said. You don't grow by having everything handed to you. I'm not trying to hand you everything, I said. Just a little support. Because that's how you grow, she said. You don't grow by having everything handed to you. I'm not trying to hand you everything, I said. Just a little support. I don't want it. Her voice softened slightly, but not enough to undo the damage. I don't need your help, Mom, she continued. I need you to trust that I can do this on my own. I swallowed hard. I do trust you. Then let me prove it. There it was. Not anger, not rejection, something else. Pride. Stubborn, unyielding pride. And maybe something underneath it. Fear. But she would never admit that. Okay, I said slowly. If that's what you need. It is. Another silence. This one heavier, more final. Good night, Mom, she said. Good night, sweetheart. The line went dead. I sat there for a long time after that. The house felt quieter than usual. Colder. Like something important had just slipped out of my hands, and I didn't know how to get it back. I replayed the conversation over and over in my head. The way her voice changed, the way she shut me down, the way she looked at my help like it was something dangerous. That was when I started to wonder, where had she learned that because it wasn't from me? I had spent her entire life trying to show her that she could always come to me, that she would never have to face anything alone. So why did she believe the opposite now? A few days later, I tried to call her again. No answer. I sent a text. Just checking in. Love you. No reply. Another day passed, then another. Eventually, she responded with a single message. Busy. I'm fine. Short. Distant. Closed. Something wasn't right. And it wasn't just stress. It was the way she pushed me away like I was the problem. Like my presence, my concern, was something she needed to escape from. That wasn't my Lauren. Or maybe it was a version of her I didn't recognize yet. Either way, I couldn't shake the feeling that she was getting pulled deeper into something she didn't fully understand. Something that was changing her. And the worst part, she wouldn't let me anywhere near it. I didn't know it then. But that was the moment everything began to spiral. Because when someone refuses help, sometimes it's not because they don't need it. Sometimes it's because they're already in too deep. After that conversation, something inside me refused to settle. It wasn't just the way Lauren had spoken to me. It wasn't even the rejection. It was the feeling. The kind you can't explain to anyone else, the quiet, persistent sense that something is wrong, even when you don't have proof yet. For days, I tried to convince myself I was overreacting. She's just stressed. I said out loud once, standing alone in my kitchen. She's building a career, that's all. But every time I replayed her voice in my mind, something didn't sit right. It wasn't just exhaustion. It was tension, pressure, and something else. Something she didn't want me to see. That's when I did something I hadn't done before. I looked into her company, Harrison and Cole Development Group. At first glance, everything looked impressive. Their website was polished, sleek images of modern high-rise buildings, smiling clients, shaking hands, glowing testimonials about life-changing investment opportunities. They specialized in real estate development, mostly high-end residential and retirement properties. That part caught my attention. Retirement properties. Older clients. I clicked through pages of their projects, reading every line carefully. Everything sounded legitimate, but almost too perfect. Every investment promised strong returns. Every testimonial was glowing. Every project seemed like a success. There were no complaints, no criticism, no imperfections. And in my experience, anything that looks flawless usually isn't. Still, I needed more than a feeling. So I dug deeper. I searched for independent reviews, legal filings, news articles, anything. At first there wasn't much, just a few scattered mentions, nothing alarming. But then I came across something buried in an online forum, a post from someone claiming they had invested with Harrison and Cole and lost everything. The post was vague, no names, no concrete details. But the tone, it wasn't anger, it was confusion. I don't understand how this happened, the person wrote. Everything seemed legitimate. That sentence stayed with me. Everything seemed legitimate. I kept scrolling. Another post, then another. Different usernames, different stories. But the same pattern. Investments that didn't deliver. Contracts that were difficult to understand. Money that disappeared into project delays. None of it was enough to prove anything, but together, it painted a picture. And I didn't like what I was seeing. A few days later, I called someone I trusted. Linda Carter. Linda had been my trusted. Linda Carter. Linda had been my friend for over 20 years. She used to work as a paralegal before retiring, and if there was anyone who understood how to read between the lines of legal evil, it was her. Jill, what's going on friend for over 20 years. She used to work as a paralegal before retiring, and if there was anyone who understood how to read between the lines of legal trouble, it was her. Jill, what's going on? She asked when she picked up. You sound serious. I need you to look at something for me, I said. I explained everything. Lauren's job, the company, the posts I had found. Linda didn't interrupt. She just listened. When I finished, there was a long pause on the other end. Jill, she said slowly, why does this feel familiar? My stomach tightened. What do you mean I've seen cases like this before? She continued. Not exactly the same company, but similar structure. I gripped the phone tighter. What kind of structure? Companies that target older investors, she said. They promise stable, safe returns, retirement-friendly investments. But the contracts are layered in a way that shifts risk onto the client. I felt a chill run through me. Are you saying it's a scam? I'm saying it could be, she replied carefully. Or, at the very least, something legally questionable. My heart began to pound. And Lauren, I asked, what happens if she's involved? That depends, Linda said. Is she just an employee, or is she signing things, representing deals? I don't know, I admitted. Then you need to find out, Linda said firmly. Because if this goes bad, she could be held responsible. Responsible. The word echoed in my head like a warning bell. After that call, I didn't sleep much. I kept thinking about Lauren, her long hours, her guarded behavior, the way she brushed off my concerns, the way she talked about clients, especially older ones. It all started to connect. Not clearly, not completely, but enough to make me afraid. The next morning, I tried calling her again. Straight to voicemail. I left a message. Lauren, it's Mom. Please call me back. I just want to talk. No reply. I sent a text. We need to talk about your company. It's important. Still nothing. That night I tried again. This time, she picked up. What? She said, her tone already defensive. Lauren, please don't hang up, I said quickly. I need to talk to you. I'm in the middle of something, she replied. This can't wait. A pause. What is it? I took a breath. I've been looking into Harrison and Cole, I said. Silence. Then, you what? I just wanted to understand what you're dealing with. I continued carefully. There are some things that don't add up. Mom? She cut in sharply. You went behind my back and investigated my job. I'm trying to protect you, I said. I don't need protection, she snapped. You might, I insisted. There are complaints, people, I insisted. There are complaints, people losing money, Lauren. This company might not be what you think it is. Her silence this time was different, tense, dangerous. You have no idea what you're talking about, she said slowly. I've seen enough to be concerned. Losing money. Lauren, this company might not be what you think it is. Her silence this time was different, tense, dangerous. You have no idea what you're talking about, she said slowly. I've seen enough to be concerned. Concerned, she repeated, her voice rising. Or paranoid. That's not fair, I said. I'm looking at facts. No, you're looking for problems, she shot back. That's what you do. That's not true. It is, she said. You always assume the worst. You always think something's wrong. No, you're looking for problems, she shot back. That's what you do. That's not true. It is, she said. You always assume the worst. You always think something's wrong. Because sometimes it is, I said, quietly. Another pause. Then her voice dropped colder than I had ever heard it. You need to stop digging into my life, she said, right now. I can't do that, I replied. Not if you're in danger. I'm not. You don't know that? Yes, I do, she said firmly. I'm part of this company, Mom. I know how it works. That made my chest tighten. Exactly, I said. That's what scares me. What is that supposed to mean? It means you might be too close to see it clearly, I said. You trust them, but what if they're using you? The line went silent. For a moment, I thought she had hung up. Then, you don't trust me, she said. It wasn't anger this time. It was something worse. Disappointment. That's not what I'm saying, I replied quickly. Yes, it is, she said. You think I'm naive, that I don't know what I'm doing. I think you're human, I said, and humans can be manipulated. I'm not being manipulated. How can you be sure? Because I'm not stupid, she snapped. I never said you were. You don't have to, she replied. It's obvious. My throat tightened. Lauren, please, I said, softly. Just be careful. That's all I'm asking. I don't need your warnings, she said. Then what do you need, Silence? Then I need you to stay out of my business. The words hit harder than anything she had said before. Lauren? No, she interrupted. I mean it. Stop calling. Stop digging. Just stop. My heart sank. You're pushing me away, I whispered. I'm setting boundaries, she replied, and then she hung up. I stared at the phone in my hand, feeling something deep and painful settle inside my chest, because in that moment I realized something terrifying. Lauren didn't just disagree with me anymore. She was shutting me out completely, and whatever she was involved in, she was choosing it over me. I didn't go to Chicago right away. For a few days after that call, I told myself to wait, to give Lauren space, to respect the boundaries she had drawn so clearly. But space can be a dangerous thing when someone you love is already slipping away. Every hour that passed felt heavier than the last. I kept thinking about everything Linda had said, about the forum posts, about the way Lauren had reacted when I mentioned her company. People who have nothing to hide don't react like that. They don't shut down. They don't push you away like you're the threat. They don't sound afraid. By the fourth day, I couldn't sit still anymore. I booked a flight to Chicago. I didn't tell Lauren. Part of me knew she would say no if I asked. And part of me didn't care anymore, because whatever was happening, it was bigger than her anger. It was bigger than her pride. And I was her mother. I wasn't going to stand by and watch her walk into something dangerous just because she told me to stay away. The flight felt longer than it actually was. I barely slept the night before. My thoughts kept circling the same questions. What if I was wrong? What if I was overreacting? What if I showed up and made everything worse? But underneath all of that doubt, there was something stronger, a quiet certainty. Something is wrong, and if you don't act now, you might lose her. Chicago greeted me with cold wind and gray skies, the kind of weather that makes everything feel a little heavier, a little more serious. I took a taxi straight from the airport to Lauren's apartment. I had been there once before, right after she moved in. It was a modern building, glass walls, clean lines, everything new and polished, the kind of place that looked impressive but didn't feel like home. I stood outside her door for a long moment before knocking. My hand hesitated in midair. What if she doesn't open the door? What if she tells me to leave? What if this is the moment everything breaks for good? I knocked anyway. A few seconds passed. Then footsteps. The door opened. And there she was, Lauren. For a brief second, I saw it. The flicker of surprise in her eyes. Something soft. Something real. Mom? Then it vanished, replaced by tension. What are you doing here? Her tone wasn't welcoming. It wasn't even neutral. It was guarded. I needed to see you, I said. You should have called. I did, I replied quietly. You didn't answer. Her jaw tightened. I've been busy. I know. She stepped halfway into the doorway, blocking the entrance. I'm in the middle of something right now. I looked past her into the apartment. It was spotless. Too spotless. Like no one actually lived there. Can I come in? I asked. She hesitated. For a moment, I thought she might say no. Then with a sigh, she stepped aside. 5 minutes, she said. That's all I have. Like no one actually lived there. Can I come in? I asked. She hesitated. For a moment, I thought she might say no. Then with a sigh, she stepped aside. 5 minutes, she said. That's all I have. 5 minutes. For a mother who hadn't seen her daughter in months. I walked inside. The apartment was exactly how I remembered. Modern furniture, neutral colors, everything arranged perfectly. But something felt off. There were no personal touches, no photos, no signs of a life beyond work. Nice place, I said, trying to keep things light. Thanks. Her voice was distant. She didn't sit. She didn't offer me anything. She just stood there, arms crossed, waiting. What's so important that you had to come all the way here? She asked. I took a breath. Your company, I said. Her expression hardened immediately. We've already talked about this. No, I said gently. You talked. I listened. Now I need you to listen to me. She let out a short, humorless laugh. This isn't a conversation, Mom. This is you refusing to let things go. I can't let it go, I said. Not when I think you're in danger. I'm not in danger. How can you be so sure? She let out a short, humorless laugh. This isn't a conversation, Mom. This is you refusing to let things go. I can't let it go, I said. Not when I think you're in danger. I'm not in danger. How can you be so sure? Because I know what I'm doing. You're trusting people who might not deserve it. Her eyes flashed. You don't know them. I know enough. No, you don't, she snapped. You read a few things online and suddenly you think you've uncovered some conspiracy. It's not just online, I said. I talked to someone who understands these situations. Oh, great, she cut in. You brought someone else into this. I'm trying to help you. I insisted. I don't want your help, she shouted. The words echoed in the room. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she took a step closer. You need to stop interfering in my life, she said, her voice low and controlled now. You don't trust me. You don't respect me. And I'm tired of it. That's not true, I said, my voice shaking. I trust you more than anyone. Then act like it. I am, I said. Trusting you doesn't mean ignoring warning signs. There are no warning signs, she snapped. There are, I said quietly. You just don't see them. Her face went completely still. And then something changed. Not anger, not frustration, something colder. If you don't stop this, she said slowly, I will cut you out of my life completely. The words hit like a physical blow. You don't mean that, I whispered. Try me. My chest tightened. Lauren. I'm serious, she said. No more calls, no more showing up, no more digging into my work. If you can't respect that. The words hit like a physical blow. You don't mean that? I whispered. Try me. My chest tightened. Lauren, I'm serious, she said. No more calls, no more showing up, No more digging into my work? If you can't respect that, then I don't want you in my life. The finality in her voice left no room for doubt. This wasn't a threat. It was a decision. I felt something inside me crack. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly. Like something breaking under too much pressure. I came here because I love you, I said. I know, she replied, but she didn't sound convinced. And because I'm scared for you. You don't need to be. I do, I said. Because I can see things you can't. No, she said. You see things that aren't there. We stood there facing each other. Two people who loved each other and couldn't reach each other anymore. Finally, I nodded. Slowly. I won't come back, I said. Her expression didn't change. I won't call, I continued. Still nothing. But that doesn't mean I'm giving up on you. That made her look at me, really look at me. And for a split second, I saw something flicker in her eyes. Doubt. Fear. Something buried beneath all that anger. But then it was gone. Goodbye, Mom, she said. Just like that. Goodbye. Not see you later. Not well talk soon. Goodbye. I walked to the door, my legs heavier than they had ever felt. And just before I stepped out, I turned back one last time. I hope I'm wrong, I said softly. She didn't answer. The door closed behind me with a quiet click. And as I stood there in the hallway staring at that closed door, I realized it's something I hadn't wanted to admit before. I had lost her. Not physically, not yet, but emotionally, completely. And if I wanted to save her now, I would have to do it without her knowing. When I got back to Ohio, the house felt it's something I hadn't wanted to admit before. I had lost her. Not physically, not yet, but emotionally, completely. And if I wanted to save her now, I would have to do it without her knowing. When I got back to Ohio, the house felt different. Not empty. It had been empty for years, ever since Robert passed. But this was something else. Heavier. Like the silence itself had weight. I set my suitcase by the door and didn't unpack it for 2 days. I just sat in the kitchen replaying everything that had happened in Chicago. Lauren's face, her voice, the way she said goodbye like she meant it. That word stayed with me because it didn't feel like a temporary goodbye. It felt like a closing door. And I knew something with terrifying clarity. If I walked away now, I might never get another chance to reach her. So I stopped asking myself whether I was overreacting. And I started asking a different question. What if I'm right? What if Lauren isn't just working a stressful job? What if she's already in something dangerous? That was the moment I made a decision. If she wouldn't let me in, then I would find the truth without her. I started with everything I already had. The company name Harrison and Cole Development Group. Lauren's role unclear, but important enough to be trusted. Clients mostly older investors. Complaints scattered hidden, but consistent. I sat at my dining table with a notebook writing everything down like I was trying to solve a puzzle. Because that's what it felt like. Pieces of something bigger that I couldn't fully see yet. But I was getting closer. I spent hours online, not just searching the company, but searching the people behind it. Executives, partners, anyone whose name appeared more than once. That's when I found Ethan Cole, co-founder, public face of the company, charismatic, polished, confident. There were interviews with him online, business podcasts, conference panels, promotional videos. He spoke well. Too well. Every answer sounded rehearsed. Every promise sounded perfect. He talked about helping people secure their future, empowering retirement investments, creating safe opportunities for long-term growth. It all sounded right, but something about him made me uneasy. I couldn't explain it, just a feeling. The same feeling I had when Lauren told me she was fine. So I kept digging, and eventually I found it. A legal filing from 3 years earlier. Different company name, different state, but the same man, Ethan Cole. The case had been dismissed due to lack of evidence, but the accusation fraud, investment misrepresentation, elder financial exploitation. My hands went cold as I read the document. It wasn't proof, not enough to convict him, but it was enough to show a pattern, enough to make one thing clear. This wasn't his first time walking this line, and suddenly, everything made sense. The perfect image, the lack of public complaints, the carefully controlled narrative. It wasn't that the company had no problems, it was that the problems had been buried, hidden, managed. And if Lauren was working closely with someone like that, my chest tightened. She wasn't just in a risky job. She was in the middle of something calculated, something deliberate, something dangerous. I picked up the phone and called Linda again. "I think you were right," I said the moment she answered. "What did you find?" I told her everything. Ethan Cole, the previous case, the pattern. Linda was quiet for a long moment. Then she exhaled slowly. "Jill, this is worse than I thought." My heart dropped. "What do you mean? If this guy has a history," she said, "and your daughter is involved in client-facing work, she could be blamed." I finished. "Yes." The word landed heavily. "Even if she doesn't know what's really happening," Linda added, "even if she's just doing her job legally, that might not matter." I closed my eyes. "She could go to jail," I whispered. "It's possible," Linda said. The room spun slightly. Not my daughter, not Lauren. She wasn't a criminal. She was being used. That thought hit me so hard I had to sit down. "They're using her," I said. "That's what it sounds like," Linda agreed. "As a front," I continued. "Someone trustworthy. Someone clients believe." "Yes, and when things go wrong, she takes the fall." I pressed my hand to my chest, trying to steady my breathing. This wasn't just about money anymore. This wasn't just about a bad company. This was about my daughter's future, her freedom, her entire life. And she had no idea. Jill, Linda said gently, "You need to be careful." "I don't have time to be careful," I replied. "I have to do something." "What are you thinking?" I hesitated, because even as the thought formed in my mind, I knew how dangerous it was. "I need proof," I said. "Jill, I need something real," I insisted. "Not forum posts, not suspicions, something that can actually protect her." "And how are you going to get that I didn't answer right away?" Because the truth was, I didn't know yet. But I knew one thing. If I waited for Lauren to realize what was happening, it might be too late. "I'll figure it out," I said, finally. Linda sighed. "Just promise me you won't do anything reckless." I didn't know yet, but I knew one thing. If I waited for Lauren to realize what was happening, it might be too late. "I'll figure it out," I said finally. Linda sighed. "Just promise me you won't do anything reckless." I didn't respond, because in that moment I realized something. Saving Lauren wasn't going to be simple. It wasn't going to be clean. And it definitely wasn't going to be safe. If I wanted to protect her, I might have to step into something I didn't fully understand, something that could pull me in just as easily. But I didn't have a choice, because I could see the path she was on. even if she couldn't. And if I did nothing, I already knew where it would lead. To loss, to ruin, maybe even to a prison cell. And I couldn't let that happen. Not to my daughter. Not to the little girl who used to call me just to hear my voice. I looked down at my notebook at the names and notes scattered across the page. Harrison and Cole. Ethan Cole. Clients, contracts, patterns, and right in the middle of it all, Lauren Morrison. Trapped in something she believed in. Something she trusted. Something that might destroy her. I picked up my pen and wrote one more line at the bottom of the page. I will save her. Even if she never knows. Even if she hates me for it. Even if it costs me everything. Because sometimes loving someone means stepping into the fire before they even realize they're about to burn. The next step wasn't something I had planned. It wasn't even something I fully understood. But once the idea took hold, I couldn't let it go. If I wanted proof, real proof, I needed to get closer to the source. Not through articles, not through secondhand stories, but from the inside. The thought alone made my stomach tighten. I was a retired woman in my 60s living a quiet life in Ohio. I had never investigated anything beyond a missing library book or a late utility bill. And now I was considering infiltrating a company. It sounded ridiculous, dangerous, completely out of my depth. But every time I thought about Lauren, about what Linda had said about the possibility of her taking the fall for something she didn't even understand, I knew I couldn't back down. So I did the only thing I could think of. I made a plan. It started with something simple. I became a client. Harrison and Cole specialized in retirement investments, and I was exactly the kind of person they targeted. Older, financially stable, looking for security, looking for trust. It was almost too easy. I filled out an online inquiry form using my real name, Jill Morrison. I hesitated before clicking submit. For a brief second, I wondered if that was a mistake, if using my real name might somehow lead back to Lauren. But then I realized something. If I used a fake name, I might not get far. If I used my real one, I might get exactly what I needed. So I clicked. Submit. The response came faster than I expected. Less than 24 hours later, I received a call. Hello, this is Rachel Simmons from Harrison and Cole Development Group. May I speak with Ms. Jill Morrison? My heart skipped. Yes, this is she. Thank you for reaching out to us, she said warmly. We're excited to discuss some investment opportunities that could help secure your future. Her voice was smooth, practiced, comforting. Exactly what you'd expect from someone trained to earn trust quickly. I'd like that, I said, forcing my voice to stay steady. Wonderful, she replied. We can schedule a consultation, either virtual or in person, depending on your preference. In person. That was what I needed. I'd prefer to come in, I said. Of course, she said. We have an office here in Chicago. Would sometime next week work for you? It would. As she confirmed the details, I felt a strange mix of emotions rising inside me. Fear, determination, and something else. Guilt. Because I wasn't just investigating a company anymore. I was stepping into my daughter's world. Without her knowing. The day of the meeting came faster than I expected. I flew back to Chicago this time with a very different purpose. Not as a mother trying to reconnect, but as someone pretending to be just another client. The office building was exactly what you'd expect. Tall, impressive, glass exterior reflecting the city skyline. Everything about it said success, security, trust. I stood outside for a moment, looking up at the building, trying to steady my nerves. You can still walk away. The thought crossed my mind quietly. You can go home. Pretend none of this happened. But then I saw Lauren's face in my mind, the way she had looked at me, the way she had shut me out, and the fear behind her eyes that she didn't even realize was there. No, I couldn't walk away. I walked inside. The lobby was sleek and modern. Marble floors, soft lighting, a receptionist's desk with a young woman typing efficiently behind a computer. "Good morning," she said with a polite smile. "How can I help you?" "I have an appointment," I replied. "Jill Morrison." She typed quickly, then nodded. "Yes, Ms. Morrison. Rachel is expecting you. Please have a seat. She'll be with you shortly." I sat down in one of the chairs, my hands folded tightly in my lap. And that's when I noticed something. The other people waiting. Most of them were older. Like me. Some looked nervous. Some looked hopeful. But all of them looked trusting. That realization hit me harder than I expected. Because I suddenly understood something very clearly. These weren't just clients. They were people like me, people who had worked their entire lives, saved carefully, trusted cautiously, and now they were sitting here believing they were making a smart decision, believing they were safe. A door opened. "Ms. Morrison." I looked up. Rachel Simmons stood there smiling warmly. "Thank you for coming in," she said. I stood, forcing a polite smile. "Thank you for having me." She led me down a hallway lined with glass offices. People sat at desks, speaking on phones, typing on laptops, moving with quiet efficiency. Everything looked normal, professional, legitimate. Too legitimate. We entered a conference room. "Please have a seat," Rachel said, gesturing to a chair. I sat down. She placed a folder in front of me. "Before we begin, I just want to say we pride ourselves on transparency and trust," she said. "Our goal is to help clients like you feel secure in your financial future." Transparency. Trust. The words sounded almost rehearsed. "I appreciate that," I said. She opened the folder, revealing neatly printed documents, charts, projections. "Based on your inquiry, you're interested in low-risk, long-term investment options," she continued. "We have several opportunities that could be a perfect fit." She began explaining. Numbers, returns, timelines. Everything sounded reasonable, carefully structured. But as she spoke, I noticed something. The details were just vague enough. Clear on the surface, but difficult to pin down underneath. "And what happens if a project is delayed?" I asked. Rachel smiled like she had answered this question many times before. "Delays can happen in any development project," she said. "But we build safeguards into our contracts to protect our clients." Safeguards. I leaned forward slightly. Could I see those safeguards? Her smile didn't fade, but something in her eyes shifted. "Of course," she said, flipping to another page. "It's all outlined here." She slid the document toward me. I looked down at it. The language was dense, legal, complex. And right there, buried in the text, I saw it. The shift, the clause that moved liability away from the company and onto the client. It was subtle, easy to miss, but it was there. My heart began to race. This was it. This was how they did it. "Do you have any questions?" Rachel asked. I looked up at her, and for the first time since I walked in, I realized something chilling. She wasn't lying, not exactly. She was just not telling the whole truth. And suddenly, I understood how someone like Lauren could get pulled into this, because from the inside, it didn't look like a scam. It looked like opportunity. It looked like success. It looked like helping people. Until it was too late. I forced a small smile. I'd like some time to review everything I said. Of course, Rachel replied. Take all the time you need. As I gathered the documents, my hands trembled slightly. Because now I knew. This wasn't suspicion anymore. This was real, and Lauren was right in the middle of it. But what I didn't know yet was just how deep she was and how far I would have to go to pull her out. I didn't leave Chicago right away. That was the first difference. Before, I had always come and gone as a mother, brief visits, emotional conversations, quiet goodbyes. But this time, I stayed. Not in Lauren's apartment, not anywhere near her life. I checked into a small hotel about 15 minutes from Harrison and Cole's office. Nothing fancy, just a place where I could think and plan. Because now I wasn't guessing anymore. I had seen it, the contracts, the structure, the way responsibility quietly shifted away from the company and onto the client. It wasn't obvious. It wasn't sloppy. It was precise. Designed to look legitimate while quietly protecting the people at the top. And that meant one thing. This wasn't just unethical. It was intentional, which also meant there had to be records, proof, something stronger than what I had. Something stronger than what I had. Something that could actually protect Lauren. I sat on the edge of the hotel bed that night, the folder Rachel had given me spread out in front of me. I read every page again, slower this time, looking not just at what was written at could actually protect Lauren. I sat on the edge of the hotel bed that night, the folder Rachel had given me spread out in front of me. I read every page again, slower this time, looking not just at what was written, but what wasn't. The language repeated itself in subtle ways. Risk disclaimers, liability clauses, ambiguous timelines. Everything carefully worded to avoid direct responsibility. It was like reading something that had been designed not to inform, but to confuse. And then I noticed something else. Signatures. Each contract had multiple signatures. Client, company representative, witness. My chest tightened slightly. Company representative. That meant people like Lauren. If she had signed these documents, if her name was attached to them, then legally, she wasn't just involved, she was exposed. I closed the folder slowly, my hands trembling just a little. This was worse than I thought. Because even if Lauren didn't know the full truth, the law wouldn't care about what she meant. It would care about what she signed. And that meant I wasn't just trying to pull her out anymore. I was trying to save her from consequences she didn't even see coming. I picked up my phone. There was only one person I could call. Linda, I said when she answered. You're still in Chicago? She asked immediately. Yes. A pause. That doesn't sound like a good sign. It isn't, I replied. I told her everything. The meeting, the documents, the signatures, the clauses. And when I finished, there was silence on the line. Long, heavy silence. Jill, she finally said, you're right. My heart sank, even though I already knew. This isn't just a questionable business model, she continued. This is structured liability transfer, meaning the company is protecting itself by putting legal responsibility on employees and clients, she explained. If something goes wrong, they have a shield, and Lauren is part of that shield. I said quietly. Yes. The word hit harder this time. What do I do? I asked. Linda didn't answer immediately. When she finally spoke, Her voice was careful. You need someone who can take this to the next level, she said. What does that mean? It means legal authority, she replied. This isn't something you can fix on your own anymore. I swallowed. You're talking about law enforcement. I am. The room suddenly felt smaller, quieter. You want me to go to the authorities? I asked. I want you to protect your daughter, Linda said. And right now, that might be the only way. My mind started racing. If I went to the authorities, if I reported Harrison and Cole, there would be an investigation, exposure, consequences, and Lauren. Lauren would be right in the middle of it. She'll hate me, I said softly. Linda didn't respond right away. She already does, she said gently. The truth of that settled heavily in my chest. She won't understand, I continued. She'll think I'm trying to destroy her career. Maybe, Linda said. But what's the alternative? I closed my eyes. I didn't need to answer. I already knew. The alternative was worse. Far worse. She gets pulled deeper, Linda continued. The company keeps operating. Eventually something collapses. And when it does, he takes the fall. I finished. Yes, she gets pulled deeper, Linda continued. The company keeps operating. Eventually something collapses. And when it does, she takes the fall. I finished. Yes. Silence. The kind that forces you to face things you don't want to face. I need proof, I said again. More than I already have. Then you need a lawyer, Linda replied. I frowned slightly. A lawyer? Not just any lawyer, she said. Someone who understands financial crime. Someone who knows how to handle this properly. Do you know anyone? Another pause. Actually, yes, she said. My heart skipped. There's someone I worked with years ago. Daniel Brooks. The name hit me instantly. The same name from the call in part 1. Though in this moment, I didn't know yet how deeply he would be involved. What kind of lawyer is he? I asked. Federal cases, Linda said. Fraud, financial misconduct, whistleblower protections, whistleblower. The word lingered in my mind. What does that mean for me? I asked. It means if you bring him real evidence, she said, he can help you take it to the authorities and protect you in the process. And Lauren, that depends on how this is handled, Linda replied. If she's seen as a participant or a victim. Victim. I held on to that word, because that's what she was, even if she didn't see it yet. Give me his number, I said. Linda did. I stared at the number on my phone for a long time before dialing. This was the moment, the point where everything changed, because once I made that call, there was no going back. I would be stepping into something official, something irreversible, something that could either save Lauren or destroy what was left of our relationship. My finger hovered over the call button. You can still stop. The thought came again. You can walk away. Let her live her life. But then I remembered the contracts, the signatures, the clauses, and the inevitable ending I could already see. No, I couldn't walk away. I pressed call. The phone rang twice. Then, Daniel Brooks. His voice was calm, professional. This is Jill Morrison, I said. There was a brief pause. How can I help you, Miss Morrison? I took a breath and stepped across the line. I think my daughter is involved in something illegal, I said. And I need to stop it before it's too late. There was a silence on the other end. Then, you did the right thing by calling, he said. And just like that, everything I had been holding back, everything I had feared, everything I had tried to avoid, became real. Because now, I wasn't just a worried mother anymore. I was becoming something else. Someone willing to expose the truth. Even if it meant losing everything. Once I spoke to Daniel Brooks, things moved faster than I expected. Too fast. Within hours of that first call, I was sitting across from him in a quiet office in downtown Chicago. He was younger than I imagined, early 40s maybe, but there was something about him that felt steady, focused. Like he had seen things like this before and knew exactly how they ended. I need you to start from the beginning, he said, sliding a notepad toward himself. So I did. I told him everything. Lauren, the distance between us, her job at Harrison and Cole, the investigation, the meeting with Rachel Simmons, the contracts, the clauses, the signatures. I didn't leave anything out. When I finished, he sat back in his chair, his expression unreadable. That's a lot, he said finally. Is it enough? I asked. For suspicion, he replied. Yes. For action, I pressed. He hesitated. Not yet. My stomach dropped. What do you mean, not yet? I asked. I've seen the contracts. I know how they're doing it. Knowing and proving are two very different things, he said calmly. I clenched my hands together. So, what do we need? He leaned forward slightly. Internal evidence, he said. Something that shows intent. Something that proves this isn't just aggressive business practice, it's deliberate deception. And how do we get that? He looked at me carefully. That's the difficult part. A silence settled between us. Because we both knew what that meant. Someone from the inside, I said quietly. He didn't respond right away. But his expression said enough right away. Yes. My heart began to pound. Lauren, I whispered. He nodded slightly. She may already have access to what we need, he said. She won't help, I said immediately. She thinks I'm trying to ruin her life. I'm not saying she has to help knowingly, he replied. I looked at him sharply. What does that mean? It means, he said carefully, that if you can continue interacting with the company as a client, you may be able to gather more information. Enough for us to build a case. It means, he said carefully, that if you can continue interacting with the company as a client, you may be able to gather more information. Enough for us to build a case. You want me to keep going back? I asked. I want you to keep observing, he said, listening, documenting. And if I find something, you bring it to me, he said, and we take it from there. I sat back in my chair, my mind racing. This wasn't just a one-time decision anymore. This was a path, a process, something that would take time. And every step of it would bring me deeper into something dangerous. What about Lauren? I asked. That depends on how this unfolds, he said. If we can show she was unaware, if we can position her as someone who was used rather than complicit. She might be protected, I finished. Yes, might. That word didn't give me comfort, but it gave me something else. A chance. I'll do it, I said. He studied me for a moment. Are you sure? He asked. This won't be easy, and if this escalates, it could affect your relationship with your daughter permanently. I let out a quiet breath. That relationship is already broken, I said. This is about saving her. He nodded slowly. Then we proceed carefully. Carefully. That word again. It sounded simple, but I knew it wouldn't be. Over the next 2 weeks, I became something I never thought I would be. A regular client. I attended follow-up meetings with Rachel. I asked questions. I listened closely. I took notes after every conversation, and took notes after every conversation. And slowly, the cracks became clearer. I started noticing patterns, the way certain questions were redirected, the way risk was downplayed, the way urgency was subtly introduced. This opportunity won't be available forever, lowly. The cracks became clearer. I started noticing patterns, the way certain questions were redirected, the way risk was downplayed, the way urgency was subtly introduced. This opportunity won't be available forever. Many of our clients are already seeing strong returns. It's important to act while the market is favorable. It wasn't pressure, not directly, but it was enough to push someone just a little closer to a decision. And then there were the documents, each new version slightly different, each one adding layers of complexity, and each one shifting responsibility just a little more. Until one afternoon, something happened that changed everything. I was sitting in one of the conference rooms again, waiting for Rachel, when the door opened unexpectedly. Not Rachel. Lauren. For a second, neither of us moved. Her eyes widened slightly as she saw me. Mom. My heart stopped. This wasn't part of the plan. I stood up slowly. Lauren. Her expression hardened instantly. What are you doing here? She demanded. I swallowed. To have a meeting, I said. With who? Rachel Simmons. Her jaw tightened. You're a client. The word sounded almost accusing. Yes. She stared at me for a long moment, and I could see it happening. The pieces connecting. The realization. You're investigating my company, she said. It wasn't a question. No, I said quickly. I just... Don't lie to me, she snapped. Her voice was louder now, sharper. People outside the room began to glance in. I'm not lying, I said, trying to stay calm. I'm just being careful. With what she demanded. My job? With your safety, I replied. That only made things worse. My safety, she repeated, almost laughing. You think sitting in meetings like this is going to protect me? I think understanding what's happening might, I said. Her eyes flashed. You have no idea what you're doing, she said. Maybe not, I admitted. But I know something isn't right. Yes, something isn't right, she said coldly. You. The word hit hard, but I didn't react. Lauren. No, she interrupted. You crossed a line this time. I'm trying to help you. By pretending to be a client, she said. By sneaking into my workplace, I didn't sneak. You lied, she cut in. To them? To me? I felt the weight of her words settle in my chest. Because she wasn't entirely wrong. I did what I had to do. I said quietly. To what? She demanded. Prove that you're right. To protect you, I said. I don't need protection, she shouted. The room fell silent. Everyone outside was definitely listening now. And in that moment, I saw something I hadn't seen before. Not just anger, not just frustration. Fear, real fear, buried deep beneath everything else. You need to leave, she said, her voice suddenly low. I can't. Yes, you can, she said. And if you don't, I'll make sure you never come back here again. My heart tightened. Lauren, leave, she repeated. I hesitated. Everything in me wanted to stay, to push, to break through whatever wall she had built. But I couldn't. Not like this. Not here. So I nodded, slowly. "I'm not giving up," I said. She didn't respond. I walked past her out of the room, through the hallway, and into the elevator. And as the doors closed, I realized something that sent a chill through me. She wasn't just angry. She was scared, which meant she knew more than she was letting on. And whatever she knew, it was enough to make her push me away harder than ever. After that confrontation, everything changed. Not just between me and Lauren, but inside me. Because for the first time, I wasn't just worried anymore. I was certain. Lauren knew something. Not everything, but enough. Enough to be afraid. Enough to push me away harder than before. And that made the situation far more dangerous than I had realized. That night, I called Daniel again. She confronted me. I said the moment he answered. At the office, he asked, "Yes." There was a pause. "That complicates things," he said. "How?" I asked. "She knows you're not just a client now," he replied, "which means they might start watching you more closely." A chill ran through me. I repeated. "The company," he said. "People like Ethan Cole don't ignore potential risks." "I'm not a risk," I said. You're asking questions," he cut in. "And now your daughter is emotionally involved. That makes you unpredictable." I swallowed. I didn't think of it that way. "That's why you called me?" he said calmly. I sat down slowly on the edge of the hotel bed. "So what do I do?" I asked. Another pause. "Keep going," he said. My head snapped up. "What? You're already inside?" He continued. "Pulling back now won't help. It might even make them suspicious." "So I just act normal?" I asked. "As normal as possible," he said. "Attend your next meeting. Ask reasonable questions. Don't push too hard. And Lauren." There was a longer pause this time. "She's the key," he said finally. My chest tightened. "I know." "No," he continued, "you don't." Something in his tone made me sit up straighter. "What do you mean?" "If she confronted you like that," he said, "it means she's under pressure." "I saw that," I whispered. "She's scared." "Yes," he said, "which means one of two things." I held my breath. She either knows something is wrong, or she's been warned not to question anything. That thought sent a cold wave through me. Warned by who? He didn't need to answer. I already knew. Ethan Cole. The man behind the polished smile. The one with a history that never quite made it to the surface. "If she's being controlled," I said slowly, "then this is bigger than we thought." Daniel finished. Silence settled between us again. Heavy, unavoidable. "What happens if they find out I'm working with you?" I asked. "They won't," he said calmly. "You sound very sure." "I am," he replied. "Because we're not doing anything illegal. You're a concerned client. I'm a lawyer giving advice. And the investigation. That comes later," he said, "when we have enough." Enough. That word felt distant, like something just out of reach. "Daniel," I said quietly. "Yes. If this goes wrong, it won't." "You don't know that," I said. Another pause. "No," he admitted. "I don't." The honesty in his voice was unsettling. "But I do know this," he continued. "Doing nothing guarantees a bad outcome." I closed my eyes. because that was the truth I had been trying to avoid. Doing nothing meant losing Ying to avoid. Doing nothing meant losing Lauren. Not just emotionally, legally, permanently. "I'll keep going," I said. "Good," he replied. "And Jill, yes, be careful who you trust." The next few days felt different, heavier, more tense, like I was walking through something invisible but dangerous. I returned to Harrison and Cole for another meeting. This time everything felt sharper. Every glance, every word, every pause. Rachel greeted me the same way as before, warm, professional, composed. But I noticed something new. She was watching me more closely, not suspiciously, but attentively, like she was trying to read something beneath the surface. "Have you had a chance to review the documents?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "And they're thorough," I replied carefully. She smiled. "We pride ourselves on that?" I nodded. "I do have a few questions." "Of course." I opened the folder slowly. "This clause here," I said, pointing to a section. "About project delays, it seems to place a lot of responsibility on the client." Her smile didn't disappear. "But it changed. Slightly." "Not responsibility," she corrected gently. "Understanding. We want our clients to be fully informed about potential risks." "Informed," I repeated. "Yes. And if a project fails?" I asked. "That's highly unlikely," she said smoothly. "But if it does?" She paused. Just for a second. "Then?" "We structure our agreements to minimize loss," she said. "Minimize, not eliminate, not prevent. Minimize." I leaned back slightly. "And the company," I asked, "what responsibility does it carry?" Her eyes held mine for a moment. Then she smiled again. "We stand by our projects," she said. It was a perfect answer, carefully worded, completely empty. And in that moment, I realized something even more unsettling. She wasn't nervous. She wasn't uncertain. She believed in what she was saying, which meant completely empty. And in that moment, I realized something even more unsettling. She wasn't nervous. She wasn't uncertain. She believed in what she was saying, which meant this wasn't just deception from the top. It was a system, one that people inside it accepted, maybe even defended. And that made Lauren's situation even more complicated, because she might not just be trapped. She might be convinced. After the meeting, I stepped out into the hallway, and that's when I saw her again. Lauren, standing near one of the glass offices, watching me. Not openly, but not hiding it either. Our eyes met, and for a moment, neither of us moved. There was no anger this time, no shouting, just silence. And something else, something fragile. "Why are you doing this?" she asked quietly. Her voice was different, tired. I took a step closer. "Because I love you," I said. "That's not an answer. It's the only one that matters." She shook her head slightly. "You're going to ruin everything." "No," I said gently. "I'm trying to stop that from happening." "You don't understand what's at stake," she whispered. My heart tightened. "Then help me understand." She looked at me, really looked at me, and for a second, I thought that she might finally tell me the truth. But then, she stepped back. "You need to stop," she said. "I can't." "Yes, you can," she insisted. "Just walk away." "I won't." Her expression hardened again. "Then, don't expect me to protect you," she said. The words hit me harder than anything she had said before. Protect me, I repeated. She didn't answer. She just turned and walked away, leaving me standing there with a single terrifying realization. This wasn't just about saving Lauren anymore. It was about surviving something much bigger. Because if she thought I needed protection, then whatever she was involved in was far more dangerous than I had imagined. That sentence stayed with me all night. Don't expect me to protect you. Lauren had never spoken to me like that before. Not even when she was a teenager. Not even during our worst arguments. There was something different in her voice this time. Not just anger, not just fear, but knowledge. The kind of knowledge that comes from seeing something you can't unsee. The kind that changes you. And for the first time, I began to wonder, how long had she known? That question didn't let me sleep. By morning, I knew one thing for certain. I couldn't wait anymore. I needed something real, something concrete, something Daniel could use. Because whatever was happening inside Harrison and Cole, it was accelerating, and Lauren was already too close to it. I met Daniel again that afternoon. This time, I didn't sit. I paced. She said she couldn't protect me. I told him. What does that mean? It means she's afraid of someone, he said calmly. Ethan Cole, I replied. Most likely. I stopped pacing. She knows, I said. Probably not everything, he corrected, but enough to understand the risk. That's worse, I whispered. Yes, he agreed. Because partial truth is more dangerous than ignorance. Someone who knows just enough is someone who stays silent. I sat down slowly. So what do we do? Daniel leaned forward. We need internal proof, he said again. Something that connects the company's structure to deliberate deception. I've been gathering documents. Not enough, he said. We need communication, emails, internal directives, anything that shows intent. My stomach tightened. That's not something I can just ask for. No, he said. It's something you have to find. And how exactly do I do that? I asked. He didn't answer immediately, and when he did, his voice was quieter. You need access, he said. My heart skipped. Access to what? Systems, internal files, conversations, he replied. Something beyond what they show clients. I stared at him. That's impossible. Not entirely, he said. I shook my head. I'm not an employee. I'm barely tolerated as a client. He held my gaze. You know someone who is an employee. The room went still. No, I said immediately. Jill. No, I repeated. I'm not using my daughter. I'm not asking you to use her, he said calmly. I'm asking you to understand that she's already inside. That doesn't mean I can just ask her for company secrets. Not directly. I'm not asking you to use her, he said calmly. I'm asking you to understand that she's already inside. That doesn't mean I can just ask her for company secrets. Not directly, he said. Then what? He paused. Sometimes, he said slowly, people reveal more than they intend when they're under pressure. I felt a chill run through me. You want me to push her. I want you to talk to her, he corrected. She won't talk to me, I said. Then you need to create a reason. I stared at him. What kind of reason? He didn't answer. And that silence told me everything. This is crossing a line, I said. It already has, he replied. He wasn't wrong. That was the problem. Every step I had taken so far had already crossed lines I never thought I would. Pretending to be a client, investigating her workplace, working with a lawyer behind her back. And now I was being asked to do something even harder. To reach her, not as her mother, but as someone trying to uncover the truth. "I don't want to hurt her," I whispered. "You're trying to save her," he said. "But what if I lose her completely?" He didn't answer that, because he couldn't. Because that was a risk I had to accept. And in that moment, I realized something painful. I might have already lost her. And this was about making sure she didn't lose herself too. That evening, I sat in my hotel room staring at my phone. Lauren's contact was still there. I hadn't deleted it. I couldn't. My finger hovered over her name. Call her. The thought came quietly. Just call her. Talk to her like a mother. Tell her you're scared. Tell her you love her. But another thought followed. She won't tell you anything. She'll shut you out again. And you'll be right back where you started. I closed my eyes, because both thoughts were true, and neither of them helped. I needed something different, something she wouldn't expect, something that would make her react. So I sent a message. Not emotional, not confrontational, just simple. "I think I made a mistake today. Can we talk?" I stared at the screen, waiting. Minutes passed, then the phone buzzed. "What kind of mistake?" My heart began to race. She answered. She didn't ignore me. That was something. I typed slowly. "About the company." The reply came faster this time. "What did you do?" There it was. Not anger, not dismissal. Concern. Real concern. And underneath it, fear. I took a breath and made the decision. I signed something. The response was immediate. "What?" I could almost hear her voice through the screen. Sharp. Alarmed. I continued. "Rachel said it was standard. I didn't read everything." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Then, "Mom, don't sign anything else." My chest tightened. "Why?" A pause. Longer this time. Then, "Just don't." I stared at the message, because that was it. That was the crack. The first real sign that she knew. Really knew. I typed one more line. "Did I do something wrong?" The reply came slowly. "I don't know yet. Not no. Not you're fine. But I don't know." And in that moment, that was the crack. The first real sign that she knew. Really knew. I typed one more line. "Did I do something wrong?" The reply came slowly. "I don't know yet. Not no. Not you're fine. But I don't know." And in that moment, everything became clear. She wasn't confident. She wasn't certain. She was unsure. And that meant the truth was already inside her, fighting to come out. I leaned back against the wall, my heart pounding, because I had done it. Not perfectly, not cleanly, but I had opened something, a door, a crack, a moment of doubt. And now I had to be ready for what came next. Because once doubt begins, it doesn't stop. It grows. And if I handled this right, Lauren might finally see what I had been trying to show her all along. But if I handled it wrong, I might push her deeper into the very thing I was trying to pull her out of. Lauren showed up at my hotel the next morning. She didn't call, didn't text, just knocked. 3 sharp, urgent knocks that made my heart jump before I even reached the door. When I opened it, she was standing there, hair pulled back, eyes tired, face pale in a way that made my chest tighten instantly. "Let me in," she said. No anger, no sarcasm, just urgency. I stepped aside without a word. She walked in quickly, glancing behind her once before the door closed. That alone told me everything. She was looking over her shoulder. "Did anyone see you?" I asked. She turned toward me, frustration flashing in her eyes. "That's your first question." "It matters," I said quietly. She exhaled sharply. "No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Not no, not certain. That fear again. It was everywhere now." She paced once across the room, then turned to face me. "Did you really sign something?" she asked. Her voice was controlled, too controlled. "Yes," I said. Her jaw tightened. "Why would you do that?" "Because I needed to see how far it goes," I replied. "That's not how this works," she snapped. "You don't just experiment with legal contracts, Mom." "I know," I said. "That's why I need you to explain it to me." She froze, just for a second. But I saw it. The hesitation, the conflict. "I can't," she said. "Why not?" "Because it's not that simple." "Then make it simple," I pressed gently. Her eyes flashed. "You think this is some kind of game?" she said. "You think you can just step in, ask questions, and suddenly understand everything?" "No," I said. "I think you're in something you don't fully understand either." That hit. I could see it, because she didn't argue immediately. Instead, she looked away. "That's not true," she said, but her voice was quieter now. "Then tell me," I said softly. "What happens if a project fails?" She didn't answer. "What happens to the clients?" I continued. Still nothing. "And what happens to you?" I asked. That's when she snapped. "I don't know," she said suddenly. The words burst out of her like something she had been holding in too long. Silence filled the room. Heavy, unavoidable, because there it was, the truth. Not complete, but real. She didn't know, and that scared her more than anything else. "I thought so," I said gently. She shook her head, almost like she was trying to deny what she had just admitted. "You don't understand," she said. "It's not like that." "Then what is it like?" "It's complicated," she said weakly. I stepped closer. "Lauren," I said, my voice softer now. "You told me not to expect you to protect me." Her eyes filled with tears. I stepped closer and put my arms around her. "I'm here," I said softly. "I'll protect you not to expect you to protect me." Her eyes flickered. "Why would you say that?" She looked at me, really looked at me, and for the first time, I saw something break. "Just a little." "Because I can't," she whispered. The words hit me like a weight. "Can't or won't?" I asked. "Can't," she repeated. "Why?" She hesitated. Long enough for me to know she was deciding something important. "You don't know who you're dealing with," she said finally. My heart began to race. "Ethan Cole," I said. Her eyes widened slightly. "How do you—" "I've been doing my homework," I replied. She stared at me for a moment, then she laughed softly. Not because it was funny, but because it was too much. "Of course you have," she said. "I'm not wrong, am I?" Her silence was answer enough. "What has he told you?" I asked. "Nothing," she said quickly. "Lauren, he doesn't have to." She cut in. "That's the problem. I frowned. What do you mean? She walked to the window, staring out at the city below. It's all. What has he told you? I asked. Nothing, she said quickly. Lauren, he doesn't have to, she cut in. That's the problem. I frowned. What do you mean? She walked to the window, staring out at the city below. It's all implied, she said. The expectations, the pressure, the way things are handled. Handled how? She hesitated again. Then, you don't question things, she said quietly. The room went still. You follow the structure, she continued. You trust the system. You believe the company knows what it's doing. And if you don't, what it's doing. And if you don't, I asked. She didn't turn around. You don't last, she said. A chill ran through me. Has anyone been let go? I asked. Her shoulders stiffened. Yes. How? Quietly, she said. One day, they're there. The next, they're not. Asked. She didn't turn around. You don't last, she said. A chill ran through me. Has anyone been let go? I asked. Her shoulders stiffened. Yes. How? She said. One day they're there, the next they're not, and no one asks why. No, she said, because no one wants to be next. That fear. It wasn't just hers. It was everywhere. Inside that company. Inside every employee. A system built not just on contracts, but on silence. Lauren, I said gently, this isn't just business. I know, she whispered. That was it. That was the moment everything shifted. Because she said it. Not me. I know, she repeated, her voice breaking slightly. I stepped closer. Then why are you still there? She turned to face me, and for a second I saw the little girl she used to be. Lost. Confused. Trying to be strong, because I don't know how to get out, she said. My heart shattered. Of course you do, I said, softly. You walk away. It's not that simple. Why not? Because I signed things too, she snapped. The words echoed in the room. And suddenly, everything clicked. You're tied to it? I said slowly. She nodded, tears forming in her eyes. They said it was standard, she whispered. Just part of the job. Liability agreements, internal protocols. My chest tightened. And now I don't know what I agreed to, she admitted. There it was. The real trap. Not just the clients, not just the investors, the employees. Pulled in slowly, piece by piece, until they were too deep to walk away. They're using you, I said. She shook her head weakly. I don't think it started that way, but it ended that way. She didn't argue, because she knew. Deep down, she knew. I can help you, I said. How? She asked. I've been working with the lawyer, I said carefully. Her eyes snapped to mine. What? His name is Daniel Brooks. No, she said, immediately why. No, you can't bring lawyers into this. I've been working with a lawyer, I said carefully. Her eyes snapped to mine. What? His name is Daniel Brooks. No. Ah, she said immediately. No, you can't bring lawyers into this. I already have. Her face went pale. You don't understand what that means, she whispered. Then, explain it to me. She shook her head. You're making this worse. No, I said firmly. I'm trying to stop it. You're going to expose everything she said. And when that happens, she didn't finish. She didn't have to. I already knew. They'll come after you, she said finally. The words hung in the air, cold, heavy, real. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. This wasn't just about fraud anymore. This was about power, control, and the kind of people who don't let things fall apart quietly. Which meant we were running out of time. I didn't expect Lauren to stay. After everything she had just admitted, after everything she had almost said, I thought she would leave, shut down, pull back into that controlled, guarded version of herself. But she didn't. She stood there in my hotel room, arms wrapped tightly around herself, as if holding something inside that was threatening to spill out. I shouldn't have come here, she said quietly. But you did, I replied. She didn't argue. She just exhaled slowly and sat down on the edge of the chair across from me. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Because now, this wasn't about arguing anymore. This was about truth, and truth takes time. You said you signed something, she said finally. Yes. Do you have it? I nodded and handed her the folder. She opened it carefully, flipping through the pages faster than I had expected. Not because she was careless, but because she had seen this before, many times. Her eyes moved quickly, scanning, pausing only at certain sections, certain clauses. The same ones I had noticed. When she finished, she closed the folder slowly. You shouldn't have signed this, she said. I figured that much. No, she said, shaking her head. You don't understand. This isn't just about money. I know. Her eyes snapped to mine. You do? I've been working with a lawyer, I said again. Her face tightened. I told you not to do that, and I told you I can't stop, I replied. She stood up, suddenly pacing again. This is exactly what I was afraid of, she muttered. What are you afraid of, Lauren? She stopped, turned to face me. And this time, she didn't look away. They monitor things, she said. The words came out low. Careful, like even saying them out loud was dangerous. My heart started to pound. Monitor what I asked. Communication, behavior, patterns, she said. Anything that looks off. A chill spread through me. You think they're watching you? I know they are, she said. That certainty in her voice. It wasn't paranoia. It was experience. How, I asked. She hesitated. Then internal systems, she said. Work accounts, messages, access logs. And outside of that? She shook her head. I don't know. But I don't take chances. That explained the way she had entered the room, the way she had checked the hallway, the way she kept glancing at the door. They don't trust anyone, she continued. Not really. And you? I asked. Do they trust you? She let out a short, bitter laugh. They trust me enough, she said. Enough for what? To do my job? She replied. And if you don't? Her expression hardened. Then I become a liability. The word hung in the air. Heavy. Real. And what happens to liabilities? I asked quietly. She didn't answer. She didn't have to. I could see it in her eyes. They disappear, I said softly. She looked away, and that was all the confirmation I needed. This wasn't just a company protecting itself. This was a system that eliminated risk. Quietly, efficiently. And if Lauren stepped out of line, she would become part of that risk. "Listen to me," I said firmly. "We need to move faster." "No," she said immediately. "Yes," I insisted. "We're running out of time." "You don't understand?" she snapped. "Moving faster is what gets people caught, and staying still gets people trapped," I shot back. She froze, because she knew I was right. "I have someone who can help," I continued. "Daniel Brooks. I don't want to hear his name," she said sharply. "You need to." "No, I don't," she replied. "Because the moment you involve authorities, everything explodes." "And maybe it needs to," I said. Her eyes widened. "You think that ends well?" she asked. "You think they just accept it?" "I think the truth matters." She shook her head. "You still believe that?" she said softly. "And you don't—" She hesitated. "Then, I don't know anymore." That hurt more than anything else, because that meant she had lost something fundamental. Faith, trust, belief in right and wrong. And that's what this place had taken from her. "Lauren," I said gently, "you said you don't know how to get out." "I don't." "Yes, you do," I said. "You just don't want to admit it." Her jaw tightened. "Leaving isn't just quitting," she said. "It's exposure. Then we expose it." And then what she demanded. "You think they just let that happen? They won't have a choice." "They always have a choice," she said. Silence fell again, because now we were standing at the edge of something, a decision, one that would change everything. "I need proof," I said finally. She closed her eyes. "I knew you were going to say that. I can't help you without it." "You're already helping," she said. "Just stop." "I can't." "Yes, you can." "No," I said firmly. "I won't." She opened her eyes and looked at me, really looked at me. And for the first time, I saw it, the moment she understood. I wasn't backing down. Not this time. Not ever. "You're not going to stop," she said quietly. "No." Even if it costs everything. She took a slow breath. And then she did something I never expected. She reached into her bag, pulled out her phone, and hesitated. My heart started to race. "What are you doing?" I asked. She didn't answer immediately. She just stared at the screen, like she was standing at the edge of something dangerous, because she was. Finally, she looked up at me. "If I do this," she said slowly, "there's no going back." "I know." "You don't," she said. "Not really." "Then tell me." She shook her head. "I can't explain it. Not completely." "Then don't," I said. "Just trust me." She let out a quiet, almost broken laugh. "That's ironic," she said. "Why?" "Because that's exactly what they told me," she said. "Trust us." The same words, different context, different meaning. And now, she had to choose who to trust. The system that had pulled her in, or the mother she had been pushing away. She looked down at her phone again, then back at me, and slowly, she unlocked it. "There are internal files," she said quietly. "Not everything, but enough." My breath caught. What kind of files? "Project reports, internal emails, risk assessments," she said. "Things clients never see. That's what we need." "I know." She hesitated again. "They track access," she added. "If I pull anything, they'll know." "Not if we're careful," I said. She shook her head. You don't understand. Careful doesn't exist there. I stepped closer. Then we take the risk. She stared at me for a long moment, and then, very slowly, she nodded. Okay, she whispered. That one word changed everything. Because in that moment, Lauren made a choice. Not to stay silent, not to stay safe, but to step into the truth, even if it destroyed everything around her. And I realized something then. This wasn't just about me saving her anymore. She was finally starting to save herself. The moment Lauren said, okay, everything shifted. Not just emotionally, but strategically. Because now we weren't guessing anymore. We were acting. And that meant we were in danger. Real danger. We have to do this carefully, Lauren said, lowering her voice as she sat back down. Her phone was still in her hand, but she hadn't opened anything yet. Careful doesn't exist there, I reminded her. It exists enough to survive, she replied. That word again. Survive. Not succeed, not win, just survive. How do you access the files, I asked. She hesitated. Through internal systems, she said. Project dashboards, email servers, risk reports. Can you access all of it? No, she said quickly. Only WAF it? No, she said quickly. Only W-hat am assigned to, but sometimes things overlap. Overlap? She nodded. Projects share documentation. Emails get forwarded. Reports get duplicated. That was our window. Then we don't need everything I said. Just enough, had I'm assigned to. But sometimes things overlap. Overlap? She nodded. Projects share documentation. Emails get forwarded. Reports get duplicated. That was our window. Then we don't need everything I said. Just enough. She looked at me carefully. You sound like him. Daniel? Yes. I didn't deny it, because at this point, we needed him. Whether Lauren liked it or not. Listen to me, I said gently. We're not doing this to destroy your life. That's exactly what it might do, she said. Or it might save it. She didn't respond. Because she didn't know. Neither of us did. Start with something small, I continued. Something that shows how they shift responsibility. She took a slow breath. I might have something like that. My heart skipped. What? There was a project last month, she said. A client lost everything. My chest tightened. What happened? They blamed market conditions, she said. But internally, it wasn't that simple. Explain. She looked down at her phone again, then back at me. They knew the risks were higher than what they told the client, she said quietly. My hands clenched, and they still moved forward. She nodded. Why? Because the structure protected them, she said. Of course it did. That's what we need, I said. Proof they knew. I might have emails, she whispered. Might I didn't save them, she said. But I remember seeing them. That's enough. That's what we need, I said. Proof they knew. I might have emails, she whispered. Might. I didn't save them, she said. But I remember seeing them. That's enough, I said, if they're still there. She hesitated again. They might not be, she admitted. Things get cleaned, deleted, archived. Hidden, she said. Of course they were, because people like Ethan Cole didn't leave trails, not obvious ones. But sometimes, she added, they miss things. That was our chance. Can you access it now? I asked. She glanced at the door, then back at me. No, she said. Not here. Where? At the office. A cold here. Where? At the office. A cold weight settled in my chest. You want to go back? I have to, she said. No, I said immediately. That's too risky. It's the only way, she replied. They're watching you. They're always watching weight settled in my chest. You want to go back? I have to, she said. No, I said immediately. That's too risky. It's the only way, she replied. They're watching you. They're always watching, she said. That doesn't change. She wasn't wrong. That was the terrifying part. There's another way, I said. What? We bring Daniel in. Her expression hardened instantly. No, Lauren? No, she repeated. Not yet. Why? Because once he's involved officially, there's no control. There's already no control, I said. Yes, there is, she insisted. Right now, we're invisible. Invisible doesn't mean safe. It means we have time, she said. Time. I wasn't sure we had that, but I also knew pushing her too hard now would break everything. Okay, I said finally. Her eyes searched mine. You trust me? I do, I said. Even if it scared me, even if it felt like stepping into the dark, then let me handle this part, the dark. Then let me handle this part, she said. I nodded slowly. All right. She stood up, slipped her phone back into her bag. I'll go in today, she said. Act normal, and if something feels wrong, I stop. Eshesh, he said. Promise me. She hesitated. Then, she said. I nodded slowly. All right. She stood up, slipped her phone back into her bag. I'll go in today, she said. Act normal. And if something feels wrong, I stop, she said. Promise me. She hesitated. Then I promise. I walked her to the door, and for a moment, we just stood there. Not as opponents, not as people on opposite sides, but as mother and daughter. Finally. Be careful, I said. You too, she replied. And then she was gone. The hours that followed were some of the longest of my life. Every minute felt stretched. Every second filled with questions. What if she got caught? What if they noticed? What if she couldn't find anything? Or worse, what if she found too much? I paced the room, checked my phone, waited and waited and waited. Until finally, it buzzed. My heart jumped as I grabbed it. A message from Lauren. I found something. I exhaled sharply, relief flooding through me. Are you safe? I typed back. A pause. Then, for now, that was all we had. What did you find? 3 dots appeared, disappeared. Then, emails, internal discussion. They knew. My chest tightened. Can you get them? A longer pause this time than I already did. I sat down heavily on the bed. She did it. She actually did it. Send them, I typed. Another pause. Longer. Then I can't send them directly. My stomach dropped. Why? The reply came slower, more careful. They tracked transfers. Of course they did. Then how I whispered to myself. My phone buzzed again. I'll bring them to you. My heart started racing. No, I typed quickly. That's too dangerous. A few seconds passed. then it's already dangerous. She was right. There was no safe version of this anymore. Only choices between risks. Where I asked. Her answer came almost immediately. Not the hotel. I frowned. Then where a pause, then somewhere public. Smart. Okay, I typed. You choose. Only choices between risks. Where I asked. Her answer came almost immediately. Not the hotel. I frowned. Then where a pause. Then somewhere public, a pause. Then somewhere public. Smart. Okay, I typed. You choose. Another pause, and then Union Station. 6 p.m. I looked at the time. We had less than 3 hours. 3 hours until everything changed. Because once I had those emails, once Daniel saw them, smart. Okay, I typed. You choose. Another pause. And then Union Station. 6 p.m. I looked at the time. We had less than 3 hours. 3 hours until everything changed. Because once I had those emails, once Daniel saw them, this wouldn't just be suspicion anymore. It would be evidence. Real. Dangerous. Unavoidable. And that meant Harrison and Cole wouldn't just be a company under investigation. They would be a target. And people like Ethan Cole didn't respond well to being targeted. I grabbed my bag, my coat, and as I headed toward the door, one thought kept echoing in my mind. This was the point of no return, and there was no way back. Union Station was louder than I expected. People moved in every direction, suitcases, rolling voices, overlapping announcements echoing through the high ceilings. It was perfect, crowded, anonymous, safe at least on the surface. I arrived early. Too early. I sat on a bench near the center hall, my eyes scanning every face that passed by. Waiting. Watching. My heart hadn't slowed down since I left the hotel. Because this was it, the moment everything came together. Or fell apart. Every shadow felt heavier. Every glance felt longer. I kept telling myself the same thing over and over. She's coming. She said she would come. And then I saw her. Lauren. Walking quickly through the crowd, her eyes scanning until they found me. Relief hit me so suddenly I almost stood up too fast. She looked different, more tense, more alert, like she was carrying something heavier than just a folder. She reached me without a word. "Don't say my name," she said quietly as she sat down beside me. I nodded. "Did anyone follow you?" I asked. "I don't think so," she replied. Again, I don't think so. That uncertainty again. It was everywhere now. Her hand moved slowly to her bag. For a moment, she didn't open it. She just sat there, frozen. "Lauren," I whispered. She looked at me, and I saw it. Fear. Real fear. "If I give you this," she said softly, "everything changes." "I know." "You don't," she said. "I do," I insisted. "I'm ready." She shook her head slightly. "No one is ready for this." Maybe she was right, but we didn't have a choice. Finally, she opened the bag, pulled out a thin envelope. Plain, unmarked, but heavier than anything I had ever held. "These are copies," she said. "Emails, internal reports, risk summaries." My hands trembled slightly as I took it. "Is it enough?" I asked. She nodded. "It's more than enough." My chest tightened, because I knew what that meant. This wasn't just evidence. This was Exposure. Lauren, she grabbed my arm suddenly. Listen to me, she said urgently. Once you give that to your lawyer, it's out of our hands. To your lawyer, it's out of our hands. I know. They will know, she said. Maybe not immediately, but soon. I know. They won't just let it go, she continued. People like Ethan Cole don't lose quietly. I looked at her. I'm not afraid of him. You should be, no. They will know, she said. Maybe not immediately, but soon. I know. They won't just let it go, she continued. People like Ethan Cole don't lose quietly. I looked at her. I'm not afraid of him. You should be, she said, and the way she said it made me pause. Are you? I asked. She hesitated. Then, yes. That honesty, it broke something inside me. Because my daughter, the one who used to believe she could handle anything, was afraid. And she had been carrying that alone. We're going to fix this, I said. She shook her head. No, you're going to fix this. My stomach dropped. What does that mean? It means I can't be involved anymore, she said. No, I said immediately. You're already involved. After this, she clarified. I can't talk to you. I can't help you. I can't be seen with you. My chest tightened. They'll suspect you. They already do, she said quietly. That hit hard. How long, I asked. I don't know, she admitted. Lauren? She squeezed my hand. This is the only way, she said. If I stay close to you, they'll connect everything. She was right. I knew she was right. But that didn't make it easier. So what happens now? I asked. You take that to Daniel Brooks, she said. You let him do what he does. And you? She looked away. I stay where I am. No, I looked away. I stay where I am. No, I said firmly. That's too dangerous. I don't have a choice. You always have a choice. Not anymore, she said. The words landed like a final truth. Because she was already too deep, and pulling her out too early said firmly, That's too dangerous. I don't have a choice. You always have a choice. Not anymore, she said. The words landed like a final truth, because she was already too deep, and pulling her out too early would destroy everything, including the case, including her chance at protection. I swallowed hard. I don't like this. Neither do I, she said. We sat there in silence for a moment, the noise of the station continuing around us like nothing had changed. But everything had. Whatever happens, she said softly, you have to trust me. I let out a quiet breath. That sounds familiar. She gave a faint, sad smile. Yeah, it does. I reached out and held her hand tighter. I never stopped trusting you, I said. Her eyes filled with tears. I know, she whispered. And I'm sorry, she added. For what? For pushing you away, she said. For not listening, for not seeing it sooner. I shook my head. You were trying to survive. That's not the same as living, she said. No, it wasn't. But she was still here, still fighting, and that meant something. Go, she said suddenly, pulling her hand away. What? Go now, she insisted. Don't stay longer than you need to. What about you? I'll leave separately. I hesitated. Every instinct in me wanted to stay, to protect her, to make sure she was safe. But I couldn't. Not anymore, because protecting her now meant letting her go. So I stood up, holding the envelope tightly in my hand. "This isn't the end," I said. She nodded. "No," she said, "it's just the beginning." And then, without another word, she stood up, turned, and walked away, blending into the crowd, disappearing, just like that. I didn't look back, because if I did, I might not have been able to keep walking. I went straight to Daniel's office. Didn't stop, didn't think, just moved. Because now, there was no hesitation left. I placed the envelope on his desk. "This is it," I said. He opened it slowly. Read. Page after page, and as he did, his expression changed. From calm to focused to something else, something serious. When he finally looked up, I already knew. "This is enough," he said. My heart pounded. Enough for what? He met my eyes. To bring them down, the words echoed in the room. Heavy, final, real. And in that moment, I realized something. Lauren thought I was saving her. Daniel thought I was building a case. But the truth was, I had already done it. Before any of this, before the investigation, before the evidence, before the lawsuit. Because months ago, without her knowing, I had signed something too. A quiet legal safeguard. A financial protection. A structure that shielded her from liability before she ever stepped into danger. She didn't know. Daniel didn't know. No one did. But when the truth came out, when everything collapsed, that hidden protection would be the difference between her falling and her walking away. And that was the moment I understood. My daughter refused my help, but I had already saved her. After everything that happened, I spent a long time thinking about what it truly means to love someone. Not the easy kind of love, the kind that feels warm and simple when everything is going well. But the harder kind, the kind that requires silence, distance, sacrifice. Sometimes loving someone means letting them walk away from you even when it breaks your heart. Sometimes it means being misunderstood, being seen as the enemy, being blamed for things you never intended, and still choosing to stay, still choosing to protect them, even when they don't see it, even when they don't thank you, even when they push you out of their life completely. Because real love isn't about being right. It's not about being apreciated. It's about doing what's necessary even when they don't thank you, even when they push you out of their life completely. Because real love isn't about being right. It's not about being appreciated. It's about doing what's necessary, even when it hurts. Jill didn't fight Lauren to win. She fought to protect her. She stepped into something dangerous, uncertain, and painful. Not for recognition, but for her daughter's future. And in the end, the truth came out. The system collapsed. The people responsible were exposed. And Lauren, she was able to walk away. Not because she was lucky, but because someone loved her enough to act before it was too late. So I want to ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to do the right thing even when it made someone you love angry? Do you think you would have the courage to keep going? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if this story touched you in any way, if it reminded you of someone you love, don't forget to like and subscribe. Because sometimes the stories we need the most are the ones that remind us what love really looks like.